Welcome to Tarborian Hall in the Dreamland Ballroom. In celebration of Black History Month, we've brought you to one of the most iconic and important sites for Black history here in our home state of Arkansas. Where I'm standing is the same spot where greats like Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Nat King Cole stood and performed to adoring crowds. This building was once the epicenter of a thriving economic center for Black Americans here in our capital city. Let us take you on a tour of not only the greats who played here, but the people who made this community thriving and integral to the city for generations. Welcome to the Dreamland.
West 9th Street in Little Rock, Arkansas, emerged as a predominantly African-American neighborhood during the American Civil War. In 1863, the Federal Army, which occupied Little Rock, began constructing log cabins in the area for freed slaves, and after the war, many chose to stay and settle there. By 1870, what was originally known as Little Rock's West Hazel Street was renamed West 9th Street. More African Americans settled west of Mount Holly Cemetery between 9th and 12th Streets. As the population grew, a 4-block section along West 9th Street between Broadway and Chester became the center of the Black business district. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, African Americans created fraternal organizations. One of the most prominent was the Mosaic Templars of America and was based on West 9th Street. It was established in 1882 by Chester W. Keats and John Edward Bush, two former slaves who later became employees of the U.S. Postal Service Railway Mail System. Bush also served as principal of the Capitol Hill School, Little Rock's first public school for African Americans. The MTA offered life and burial insurance policies, and by 1883, the MTA had received its official state charter. From 1884 to 1895, the order operated the Mosaic National Building and Loan Association, which provided loans to MTA members who were considered good credit risks. In 1913, the MTA built its headquarters at the corner of 9th and Broadway, and this became the center for business and entertainment in the West 9th Street District. The West 9th Street District was a thriving metropolis of Black entertainment, business, retail, and ingenuity. It became known as a city within a city. Tarborian Temple opened in 1918 at 800 West 9th Street on the opposite end of the line from the Mosaic Templars Building. The 1920s was known as the golden era for the area's Black community. West 9th Street continued to grow throughout this time, but the Great Depression of the 1930s devastated many businesses and fraternal groups in downtown Little Rock, including the Mosaic Templars. Between 1930 and 1935, 11% of West 9th Street's businesses, 16 in total, closed. The Templars themselves declared bankruptcy soon after the crash, which resulted in the closing of the Mosaic State Hospital by 1940 as vacancies increased. By 1935, the Mosaic State Temple building had 10 vacancies, and its entire second floor of offices were completely vacant. During the 1930s, social clubs began using Tarborian's Temple's spacious third floor for dances and club meetings. Clubs like the Modernistic Club and later Club Morocco and Twin City Club established their spots in the building and sponsored dances there. In 1935, the space officially opened as the Dreamland Ballroom. Approximately 250 guests enjoyed live music performed by the legendary jazz singer Billie Holiday. Dreamland Ballroom became known for hosting high-class and high-profile events featuring big names in music such as Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, B.B. King, and a host of others. By the 1940s, Philander Smith College and Dunbar High School also used Dreamland Ballroom for social functions. In 1941, S.W. Tucker opened a new nightclub called the Club Aristocrat, changing the name of the former Dreamland Ballroom. Meanwhile, the Morocco sponsored artists such as Sam Cooke, Etta James, Count Basie, and Otis Redding.
People would come from miles around to come to Ninth Street just to see what it was like.
I'm saying this was the mecca of entertainment in the South.
I want to blow the roof off of this sucker.
We thought we was on top of the world, man. You couldn't tell us nothing.
It was home. It was everything you would wish for.
I mean, all the top bands came through here.
They would come here. This was the place to come.
The spirit of entrepreneurialism hit West 9th Street with the American entry into World War II in 1941. Due to racial segregation, black soldiers had only two options for entertainment venues close to Camp Robinson: Washington Avenue in North Little Rock and West 9th Street in downtown Little Rock. The soldiers liked the downtown atmosphere, which created a business boom for West 9th. The area also became a main hangout spot for high school and college students. Attractions ranged from the Gym Theater to Dean Johnson's Cafe and Drive-In. Liquor, music, pool halls, nightclubs, and live entertainment events attracted soldiers and students as well as the aristocrats of the black community. West 9th Street boomed during the 1940s and 1950s with dance clubs and live entertainment, providing an outlet for the black community. Despite many flourishing businesses along West 9th Street, this Little Rock community faced demolition and clearance as part of the National Urban Renewal project. Urban Renewal came by way of the Federal Housing Act of 1949, which aimed to modernize blighted areas within cities. The Little Rock Housing Authority told owners to sell at the appraised value or expect further action, including eviction by court order. B. Finley Vinson, former director of the Little Rock Housing Authority and its slum clearance and urban redevelopment project at the time, later stated that the city of Little Rock, through its various agencies, including the Housing Authority, systemically worked to continue segregation. For those who refused to sell, the Little Rock Housing Authority began evicting residents and business owners from downtown, after which 9th Street's businesses rapidly declined, with most closing by the 1960s. The only surviving structure from the heyday of the neighborhood is Tarborian Hall, which was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1982. In 1991, Carrie McCoy purchased the building to open Arkansas Flag and Banner. We are so fortunate that Carrie realized the importance of the third floor ballroom. At the time she purchased the structure, half of the roof had collapsed in on the Dreamland, and it was in dire need of conservation and repair. Carrie dedicated herself to preserving not only the structure, but the history of the place, recognizing its importance in the overall history and culture of the state of Arkansas. Since 1991, she's worked tirelessly with the Friends of the Dreamland to preserve this important part of Black Arkansas's cultural and social history. In 2018, it was announced that the U.S. Department of the Interior and the National Park Service had awarded a grant for the ballroom's restoration. That grant has made the ballroom ADA accessible. The space is now open for public tours and social events, but most importantly, has been preserved to tell the story of Arkansas's once thriving Black community on West 9th Street for generations to come.
We hope you've enjoyed this trip back in time and this tour of this incredible space being beautifully preserved by caretakers of today. If you are in the area and think this would be the perfect place to host your social event or even your wedding, contact the owners below. You can have your very own Dreamland event right here.